if you're familiar with what I teach, then you know that standards are integral to finding a high quality partner. And in the past, I've made a video about having boundaries and standards. And in that video, it was more of an introductory beginner level video where I shared how you can start implementing boundaries and standards if you have never really had any before. And so we really focused on communicating our boundaries. But today I want to go a step further and I want to talk about unspoken boundaries, because when you have had enough practice saying your boundaries aloud and actually communicating them, you get to a point where you don't need to anymore. It becomes like muscle memory. And when you engage that muscle enough times, it just becomes natural. It becomes second nature. Like, you don't need to think about how to drive. When you've done it enough, you just get in the car and do it. You don't need to consciously think about it. And that's kind of the same thing with boundaries. So the next question then is, how do we implement a boundary that is unspoken? Well, you simply disengage, or you disassociate and kind of just disconnect from the situation or from the person that's crossing your boundary. They are either going to get the message and understand that, hey, you've crossed a boundary, that's why they aren't responding to you or they're not engaging with you, or they're just going to be confused, going in circles, and that's their problem to figure out. It is simply not your duty to have to explain to every single person what your boundaries and standards are. And you should reach a certain point where it actually becomes a little bit low level to have to speak your boundary word by word and state exactly what happened that just didn't align with your values. So for instance, let's say that your boundary is that if someone wants to take you on a date, they need to plan it in advance. They're texting you middle of the week to plan for that weekend. And let's say this guy that you just started talking to, you don't know each other very well, messages you 5 p.m. on Friday and says, hey, can I take you out tonight? You could respond and say, hey, I only go out with men who plan dates with me in advance. You could say that, right? That's like stage level 1. That's when we're first learning our boundaries and we really need to be solidified in them, and it helps us when we say them aloud and communicate them, because it reiterates in our mind like, hey, we are not crossing this standard, so that we don't for any reason make an exception for this one situation. Now, a step further from that would be to simply respond, hey, that sounds lovely, but I'm booked tonight. So in that situation, you're telling this person, hey, that sounds like a great plan, but I'm booked tonight. And what does that communicate? I make plans in advance, right? So it's now up to you to either get the message and next time plan in advance, or if, next time you do the same thing again, you can simply just not respond, right? And now that's 2 times that you've told this person indirectly what your boundaries are. So you don't need to teach people what to do. You can simply say, I'm not available for this. And when you're not available for something, that is you upholding your boundary. That is you upholding your standards. That is you staying true to the commitments that you made to yourself. So I personally have clients who tell me, there's this guy, I'm interested in him, but he's always messaging me late at night. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, probably because you've taught him that you are available for that action, for that behavior. You have continued to respond to him and engage in conversations when it's midnight. So you are just as much to blame as that other individual. How can you change this dynamic is by simply disengaging with this behavior. If a man messages you late at night, yes, you can go ahead and message him, which would be stage 1, level 1 boundaries. Hey, it's too late right now. I don't talk to people at this time. It's inappropriate. Or you could just simply not respond. And this is something that I have done in the past. Like, I remember when I was single, there were a few guys that I was talking to, right? But it was nothing serious. It was non-committal. We were just in the talking and dating phase. And these men thought that they could just FaceTime me out of the blue in the middle of the day when we had not planned a FaceTime date. I would be with my friends or my family and I would get this FaceTime call and my friends and family would be like, "Why don't you answer?" And I'd be like, "No. This guy didn't plan a date with me. This guy didn't ask me if I was available at this time. This guy isn't paying me my hourly rate of what I charge for, being available at a certain time." So my point is that you uphold your boundaries and standards by, yes, either communicating that to someone or just disengaging, not being available for that person, and then they'll get the message. Like, you missed the first FaceTime, you missed the second one, you missed the third one, and I ended up just telling this individual, like, "I'm a busy gal, I have a lot going on. If you do want to FaceTime me in the future, let me know in advance." So now it's up to him to either now uphold my standard, or if he doesn't, it's now up to me to disengage and to not respond to that behavior. When we uphold our boundaries and standards, we become empowered. We are no longer victims to other people. We have this certain standard and you're either gonna meet me exactly here or higher, or I'm just not available for it. Unspoken boundaries are not just something that needs to be done in romantic relationships. You also need to have boundaries when it comes to friendships, when it comes to family members, when it comes to coworkers. People will literally walk all over you if you don't have a personal standard for yourself. I've been there. I was a yes woman before who just said yes to everything because I felt bad or because I didn't want people to perceive me in a certain type of way. And that behavior just has got to go. If you truly want to live your best life, your dream life, you better start upholding your own standards. And in a sense, you need to stop feeling bad for everyone else, because the minute we feel bad for other people crossing our boundaries, doing things that are not in line with our standards, who's actually benefiting in the end? Not us. Everyone else is benefiting from using and abusing us, and in the end, we're gonna be the ones reaping the miserable life, reaping this voice that's like this throat chakra that's not being used because we can't say no. So even just learning to say no, or not responding, or not engaging in a certain sort of behavior shows that you're on the right track to truly living your best life. There really is not one person on the planet who's saying yes when they don't want to, who's truly successful and living their best life. People who are living their dream life understand that there's a sacrifice that needs to be made. And that sacrifice isn't to neglect your own needs and desires. The sacrifice is to care less about everyone else's needs and desires. Okay? You are the main character in your story. And if you don't uphold your standards and boundaries, do you think someone's gonna just drop from the sky and help you figure it out? No. Everyone will be taking advantage of that. They're gonna be taking advantage of you being naive, of you being vulnerable, of you saying yes all the time and being available for things that don't match up to the life that you want to create. So from now on, if you have a certain vision in mind about the man you want to attract, and if any other person comes around and gives you some type of energy or some type of message or some type of communication that does not fall in line with that, yes, you can choose to respond and let them know, hey, I'm not available for this, or you can just simply disengage, not respond. And that will teach them the lesson that they cannot have access to you in this sense anymore. Okay? So I know when we're young, we're always told to be kind, respond to people, let them know, but it comes a time in your life when you need to stop being Mrs. Nice, Mrs. Yes all the time, and you need to start looking out for your own self, for your own needs, for your own standards and boundaries. From this point forward, decide you are not going to be available for any type of energy, for any type of communication, for any type of low effort date. Okay, you are worth more than that. And when you see your worth and you know your worth, you teach other people what your worth is. Okay, your worth does not come from external factors, from what people say about you, from what people think about you. Your worth is internal. It's an inner knowing of this is my worth, this is my value. I don't need to communicate that to you. I don't need to convince you. As long as I know, the rest will fall into place. Because once I figured out what my value was and what I was going to be available for and what I was saying no to, it became so easy. It was so evident which messages I got that were just a hard no. Like, no, I don't need to respond to that. I don't need to respond to hey. I don't need to respond to wanna hang. I don't need to respond to what's up. Okay? But if it was a high value message from a man that I was truly interested in, something that was more intelligent, something that was deeper, something that was more meaningful, something that had more action in it. I remember when I was online dating, probably 4 out of 5 messages were trash. Okay, they were along the lines of, hey, what's up? Send me a pic. What's your number? Like, just very low level, low effort messages. They were not in any way high quality or giving off any sort of vibe that they would be high vibe people. But the message that I got from my now fiance read, hey, I would love to take you out this weekend, this day, this time. Please let me know if you're interested for great company, great food, a bottle of wine. You have nothing to lose. It was something along those lines. And in the midst of all the other dozens of messages, that one stood out because that one upheld my boundaries. That one upheld my standards of if a man truly wants to get to know me, he better take me on a date. I'm not available for this back and forth messaging of, hey, what's up, surface level things. No, my standard was that it's a date or nothing. This guy is going to invest at least in a date to get to know me. And he's not going to be beating around the bush or being confusing. He's going to get straight to the point. And when I read that message, I knew. I was like, that is a F yes. Like, in my soul, that was a true yes. So only say yes if it's a F yes, okay? If it is like a 100% yes in your soul, because anything else is not worth it, I promise you. So that completes today's video. I hope it was helpful. Make sure to subscribe before you head out. And I'd also like to announce that I am currently working one-on-one with you guys. So if you guys have any questions you have for me, if you guys want me to help you set up a dating profile or to navigate a current relationship that you're in, check out my description because I have details there on where you can reach me to set up a coaching call. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Bye!